Hey guys, it's Phil. I'm here in the hotel again. Right now I'm in Cincinnati. It's currently 10 o'clock at night. I fly out tomorrow morning, heading back to LA. I'm off for a few days and then I'm on reserve for a few days and then back on the line. So I'm making this video. Hopefully I can make it somewhat quick. I'll share it on YouTube as well as Facebook for those who are interested in this topic. I get the same question over and over again, often by newer pilots, newer commercial pilots who are interested. And that is, you worked for X company, and do you have any recommendations? What do you think of the company? Should I apply to that company? I've heard good things, I've heard bad things. What are your opinions? And I'm going to tell you this. I don't like giving people recommendations on companies as far as should you go or should you not go. For one big reason. Everybody's experience is different. I've met plenty of people who've gone into companies that have tons of horror stories, did their time, finished, and moved on with no issue. And it really just comes down to what are you willing to deal with and what is your goal. If your goal is to get to a place and think, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to work, this is where I want to retire, you're going to have a different view than somebody who comes to a company, especially a smaller company that most people consider a stepping stone company, and is just like, do your time, don't volunteer your time, get as many hours you can and get out. And if you go to any of these companies, you're going to hear that. There was, honestly, I've worked for 3 135s, and I'm now at a 121. I was a CFI, and I've met plenty of people who were like, yeah, this place sucked. They treated you poorly, they paid you poorly, the schedule sucked. And I sat I sat in the jump seat of a United 777 out to Honolulu one day, and I was talking to a first officer who worked for one of the companies I previously worked for. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, they're hurting for pilots, so what are they doing? Instead of making it a better company to work for and encouraging people to come, a lot of these companies are just basically working the people they have to death and making the environment extremely hostile. They're threatening people. They're taking the wrong stance, and basically, they're making a bad situation worse. And so I told him about, the schedules and the issues I was having. And he turned to me and he said, you're going to have that issue any company. He goes, there are people here at United that have been here for 20, 30 years. And you would think, oh, they've made the grade. They're at the most desirable company. And these guys will turn to you and be like, dude, it's so much worse than it used to be. And if I could, I would take the early retirement right now. And so somebody on the outside looking in is like, man, is it really that bad? And then you realize that they're at the top. And even though you could hear somebody saying, yeah, they're getting less rest, they're being worked more, they're, they're dealing with contract negotiations, and, other companies are paying more. There's still a million kids who would, love to have that opportunity, and they won't be discouraged by somebody saying, yeah, the schedule sucks, or, we're having all these issues, unions fighting over this, unions fighting over that. So don't listen to anyone who tells you they don't recommend a company because of their own reasons. Going from a 135 to a 121, my 121 There are a lot of guys who have been there and they're like, yeah, I've been here for 10 years and it was so much better before. We did way less flying. We were way more comfortable. Scheduling didn't mess with you as much. Things were so much better. And then you look back and you're just like, yeah, it sounds like you guys have it bad, but compared to where I just came from, this is freaking heaven. You guys are complaining you're doing 2, 3 legs a day, where I just came from a company where I was flying like 6 to 8 legs a day, you know? And so, again, it really comes down to you, you know? There are plenty of times I've heard people say, hey, you just got new guys that are there and they're like, yeah, I'm just happy to be here. I love flying the plane. I love doing this and I can't wait, to advance in my career. And you get guys who are telling them, you know what? Don't do anything extra at this company. Do your time and get out. And I think that's kind of wrong. One, because you're already creating this negative view for these people when it doesn't have to be. I worked for, two of the 135s I worked for, I thought were great companies. And had it been situations were different, had it been, they had renegotiated their contract, decided to have higher top pay, found a way to really compete with the other airlines that are constantly snatching other pilots up, I could have easily seen myself spending more time at these companies or even retiring. My last company, they had issues. They had management issues, they had pay issues, and that was a huge issue for me. Where if they would have just bumped our pay up, renegotiated contracts, gave the pilots who weren't union some sort of protections, then I could have said, yeah, it's a good gig. Because I had days in which I was begging for hours. I was just like, I'm getting paid. The pay isn't terrible, but, it's not enough to buy a house. And I'm like, but really, I'm not working that hard. And so it's a comfortable gig. I get to be home a lot. I had flying gigs where literally it was like a 9 to 5. You showed up, you flew in the morning, you came back in the afternoon, and you were home for the rest of the day. Now, then after that, I flew for a gig where you ask for a schedule and they give you like 17 days straight, no days off, and just, it was terrible. Right now, this company, the company I work for, they're facing similar deals where a lot of the senior guys are like, hey, we used to fly for 3, 4 days, have 3, 4 days off, and it was a good balance of work and life. And now they're like, because they're so understaffed, they can't afford to give that same life, where now guys are like, dude, I'm like doing like 16 days straight, doing transcons all day, transitioning from night to day, and it's a lot more stressful, where someone like me comes in and I'm like, dude, yeah, you may be transitioning from day to night, but you may do one leg and then sit somewhere for like a day or two, and then I'm just like, this is heaven. So the point is, if you're interested in a place, my recommendation is look at what you want to do. A place may have a negative reputation, for working their people and spending a lot of time away from home, and maybe they're not paying the best, but that may be a company in which you can advance quickly, you can get those hours quickly, and you may not have a huge investment. They may not be like, oh, we want you to, fly a bunch of planes, we want you to do all this complicated stuff. They may not have, a lot of people are talking about how some companies are forcing captain upgrades, even if you're not ready. And, if they force a captain upgrade and you try it and you're not ready and you fail, that's going to be a mark against you, right? That's still an FAA failure. So don't take any advice about whether you should or shouldn't go to a company. Because again, plenty of people have gone to companies that have bad reputations and have done their time, had no issues, gotten out, and moved on into their career. So look at what you want. Do you want to be there? Is it comfortable for you? You know, are you going to be based out of home? Are you going to be flying that kind of airplane you want to fly? Are you going to be able to make enough money to pay your rent? You know, or if it's a good enough company, buy a home or be where you want to be. It may tick those boxes for one person and may not tick those boxes for another. So evaluate what you want, what you expect from that company, and realize that from the get-go, there are a lot of companies that are, unfortunately, stepping stone companies where they don't even expect you to spend a lot of time there. They expect you to spend a minimum amount of time where, you work for a major company. You may think, oh, uh, I'm looking to work for this company for years. And this company is just like, people don't work for us for years. We're not paying people to work for us for years. We're paying people to be here for a year or two, get as many hours as they can, and advance in their career. And because of that, they may not be offering good benefits, they may not be offering good pay, but they know that because they get the job done, they get those hours for their pilots, they have a safe record, they're offering low time pilots the ability to fly the plane that they want to fly and get valuable time. That you just got to do that. There are plenty of pilots who are just like, I just got a few months left. I only got a couple hundred hours, and boom, I'm out of here. I'm only 200 hours away from getting my 15. I'm already throwing out, regional or major airline or whatever 121 applications so I can get out. So I personally do not answer those questions as to what do you think of this place, because my experience is going to be different than yours. The I've met plenty of when I went to my first company, you were the cheapest labor they had, and they took advantage of that. When I got to my next company, I wasn't a first officer, I was a captain, and they would bend over backwards to make sure that their captains were happy. They got them great schedules, they got them, a good amount of pay in comparison to what you were flying, and they really worked with you. It was easier with that company that had a bad reputation for working their FOs to death to just be like, hey, I'm a captain and this schedule's not going to work for me. I need these days off. And then be like, okay, cool. Can you work these days? Can you make it up? Can you, do a double on this date? We'll give you these days off. So they were definitely, it's a different environment. It's a different type of situation. I hope this helped you guys. I just want you to know that, if I don't respond, I'm working just like any other pilot. I'm doing transcons. I'm working, yesterday I worked from like freaking midnight until 6 a.m. So I don't always have the time to respond. And I just wanted everybody to understand, what my personal position is when it comes to recommending working for a particular airline or working for a particular place, or even, what steps you should take to get to that advancement. Because again, it can really be what you want to be, So I want to thank you guys for watching my video. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. Again, I can't guarantee I'll answer them all in a timely manner, but that's my opinion basically on recommendations coming from, somebody that's basically not you. You do your own research, don't take everything at face value. All right? You guys have a great one.